2 days ago. We just started this chapter, and yeah, and if you still remember, we were basically having a revision. Yeah, more like a revision than a new chapter, because you have learned basically so much for inflation. And yeah, we talk about inflation, the definition, right? And we talk about disinflation. We talk about something about deflation as well, right? Okay, and then we started to talk about how we can calculate inflation, right? And yeah, we know that we can use the method that we have learned from GCSE, and which is CPI, right? Consumer Price Index. Okay, so basically, this index here, we are trying to look at, the cost of living for the typical household that we have in our society, okay, or in our economy. All right, yeah. So there will be always a basket that we are looking at. Okay, yeah. The government is going to put the goods and services that they believe the typical household they will consume inside that basket, and then they will look at the value of that basket to determine if the cost of living is increasing or decreasing. Right? Okay, yeah. This is what we have learned so far. Right? Yeah. So this basket here is very important, okay, when we are trying to calculate so-called CPI. All right, and today we are going to do some simple calculation. Since we are learning this concept here, it's good for us to know how to calculate the figure so that we have a better understanding on this method here in order to find inflation. Okay, right? Yeah. So it's easy peasy. All right. Okay. Yeah. So let's go. Right. So you see here, right? Talking about the basket. Yeah. Some of you may be quite familiar with this picture here. Yeah. I just kind of copy the things that I used from last year GCSE to here. Okay. So you can see. Look. Like once again, the basket. Okay, what's inside the basket is something that a typical household they would consume, right? Talking about housing, food, yeah, food maybe, recreations, like watching movies, okay, yeah, going to a fancy restaurants, etc., etc. Okay, transportation, education, healthcare, yeah, all sorts of things. Okay, right? Yeah, a typical household will consume. We are going to put all of them inside a basket, and we are going to see the value from all of them. And you can see, like for different items, we have a weight for it. Okay, right? And you see here the percentage here is, well, do you know what they are presenting? The percentage here, like 22% for food. Like why they put 22% on food? What's the base? You know, yeah, for this percentage here, or for all the percentages in this basket. Okay, average part of the expenditure. Yeah, you can say so. Okay, or it is just the relative importance of the assumption, of the consumption from the household. Okay, right? So you can tell. Yeah. So you are correct, Andrew. Okay, yeah. So it depends on how much they spend on the particular items. So we will give them a specific proportion of importance, right, in the basket when we are calculating the value, okay, for the basket. So you can see here for this country, for the typical household, housing, okay, is one very important thing. Okay, and that's why they put a very high emphasis on housing. Okay, and then you have food, yeah, maybe some other things. Okay, so you see, these are what we call the weights. Okay, yeah, and when we are trying to calculate CPI, we are trying to calculate the weighted average. Okay, yeah, the weighted average value. Okay, inside this basket. All right, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So after we calculate the value of the basket, then we will just compare. You see the value of the basket from different years, and we will see, okay, if the price, if the cost of living is changing or not, so that we can see, if there's inflation. Okay, all right, yeah. But this index is mainly, they are mainly focused on consumers, right? Because the everything inside the basket is all based on consumers' needs. Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, right. So here, do you still remember the equation for CPI? Do you still remember this one? How do we calculate CPI? Yeah, there's an equation that we every time when, it's for almost all the index you use similar equation. Oh, no one remembers the equation. Well, anyway, yeah, I can just show you the equation. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, talking about all kinds of, yeah, indices, you will always use a similar approach to find the index. Okay, yeah, index is not a percentage. Okay, it's not a percentage. All right, so that's why, well, you are going to yeah, something something multiplied by 100. But what is that something? Okay, and yeah, tell it. That's good. Current. Okay, yeah, the current value over the value, from the base year. That's how we find an index, right? Because we always have to compare, the current value to a benchmark. Okay, and where is that benchmark? Well, there's no definition, and we decide where that reference years is, and that's why we have base year. Okay, all right, yeah. So take a look at this. Okay, yeah. So that's why I told you. Okay, whenever we talk about index, like what kind of index, is always going to be something like this, or very similar. Okay, right? Yeah, because based on mathematics, this is how you find difference. Okay, right? When you're trying to compare one thing to another. Okay, and reference value, and that's why this is how you can find the number. Okay, so here you have the value, right? Because you are trying to find, okay, the difference inside the basket from year to year. So this is how you can find it. Okay, using the value of the basket in a specific year. So that's the year that you want to study. Okay, and then use it over by the reference year. So that's the base year. Okay, yeah, and you decide the base year. All right, yeah. So here, and then you multiply it by 100, because index always, you will always see 100 for the base year, for sure, and then yeah, it will change from year to year. So here, I have an example for you. Okay, it's a very simple calculation once again. So let's say here we are in a country, okay, called country survival. Okay, so this is the country name, and they only have, for the typical household, they only need two goods. All right, let's assume for this country, for the typical household, they only need two goods in order to survive. All right, yeah, so that's the assumption, trying to make things easier. Okay, so as a government, of course, we are going to put that two things inside that basket, right, for calculation of CPI every year. Okay, right? And let's say those two goods are bananas and shrimps, yeah, respectively. Okay, yeah, so all they need is bananas and shrimps in order to survive. Okay, as a typical household. All right, there you have it. Okay, so this is the scenario, and you can see here. Well, so let's say 2020. Yeah, we use it for base year. Okay, so we are going to from now on, whatever year that we are comparing. Okay, we are going to use 2020 as the base year. Okay, so when we are trying to find the CPI for 2021, we are trying to compare 2021 to 2020, and so on and so on and so on. All right, yeah, and here you can see, right, the weights that we are looking at. Okay, right. So here, yeah, let's make an assumption that the weights, okay, that the people, okay, they spend on bananas is five. Let's say five. Okay, 5 units per year. Okay, and how many they spend on shrimps? 5 units per year. So this is how many of the bananas and shrimps they need. Okay, in order to survive. All right, yeah, simple human beings. Okay, they only need 5 bananas and 5 shrimps to survive for a year. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, that's what it is. Okay, right? It doesn't really matter. Okay, because they are the weights. You can convert them into percentage. Okay, at the end, it's going to be the same. All right, it's going to be the same. Okay, all right. So yeah, it's just the difference of expression. Okay, so when you are looking for the CPI of 2020, okay, so yeah, because now we assume 2020 is the base year. Okay, so what is the CPI for 2020? Yeah, I think I said it. I think I said that already. But can you tell me again? Like CPI for 2020? Can you give me the equation? Well, yeah, the working as well in the chat box. So you just have to follow this equation here and find out the CPI for 2020. Come on. Yeah, it's just 100, but you know, yeah, I'm just trying to follow, yeah, like step by step, right? Yeah. So if you can show me the working as well, that will be great. Yeah. Because for the base year is always going to be 100 based on the equation itself, right? Okay, so the value of the basket in a specific year, so 2020, this is what we are trying to say. Okay, the value is 13, and we are setting 2020 as the base year. So for the base year here, the value of the basket is also 13. So whenever we are talking about the CPI for the base year, it's always going to be 100. Yeah, because 13 over 13 times 100. There you go, 100. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's how we can come up with the 100. Okay, yeah. So for the base year, always 100. But what about 2021? Come on, just it's a very simple calculation. Just give me the answer very quickly. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and right. The working over there, yeah, is correct. Okay, and at the end you should be able to find the number 1, 2, 3. Yeah, if you also count 2 decimal places, then that will be 1, 2, 3.08. Okay, and that is the CPI for 2021. So here, okay, from the working you can see, okay, Andrew is using the percentage for the working. That's fine. That's why I said it's just a different way to express your idea. You can use the quantity, okay, to calculate it as well, right? It's the same. It's the same. Okay, all right, yeah. But in the exam, sometimes they will show you the quantity instead. Okay, so don't be panicked when you see quantity. Yeah, when you cannot find the percentage, it's all good. Okay, you can still use the quantity to find the same number. Okay, yeah, so don't get panicked when you see quantity here. Same. Okay, yeah, if you try to do the same working using the numbers here, you will find the same number. All right, yeah, because the weight here is just showing you, okay, yeah, the relative importance of goods and services, the people, the consumers, they spend in this country. Okay, all right, yeah, and from this scenario here, we know it's equally important for the consumers to consume bananas and shrimps. Okay, in this case. All right, yeah. But the thing is, okay, I really want to know, what does this mean? What does 123 means? Yeah, what does it mean? Yeah, there's inflation, but I want I need someone to explain what that number is all about. Yeah, so now we see 123. Yeah, forget about the decimal place. Yeah, 123. How do we explain this number besides saying inflation? Okay, price level rose by 23%. Yeah, can you make it more detailed? There's one more sentence left to complete the entire explanation. Yeah, even though I know you're right, but try to make that uh yeah, relative to base year. Yes, relative to base year. Okay, so so that's the change from 2020, okay, to 2021. All right, yeah, because of that. So there is a rise of 23% from 2020 to now. Okay, yeah. So when you are trying to explain the idea, okay, try to explain it this way. Okay, all right. So you see here, because the index is increasing, so there is an inflation, inflated by 23% from 2020. Okay, yeah, right, all right. So let me give you another question here. So let's say, without further detail and data given, so now I tell you, for 2022, okay, the CPI is 192.3. So what does it mean? Can you do the explanation again? So 2022, the CPI is 192. So what does it mean? Okay, right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Price level increased by 92.3% relative to base year. Yes. Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, on average, yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. So this is how we can explain the numbers, okay, of CPI. All right. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, from the base year, right? So that is the difference. Okay, when we have the number for 2022. Okay, so it has been rising for 92.3% since the base year. Okay, yeah, so that's how we see CPI. Okay, all right, yeah, but at the end of the day, we want to see inflation rate. Okay, right? Maybe from year to year. And from here, we cannot really see that from year to year. Okay, so that's why we are going to do one more step, right? And you know what that is. Yeah. So yeah, here once again they are the same numbers. Okay. So can you just quickly put the working? Yeah, for this one and this one too. Okay, yeah, the percentage change in price level from 2020 to 2001. So what is it going to be? And also the percentage change in price level from 2021 to 2022. So this one here, yeah, these two items here, we are just talking about, the change, okay, on yearly basis. All right, yeah. So can you very quickly, can you give me the workings? Yeah, I know they are very simple math, but yeah, 2020 and 2021, right? We can just find it right from the number here because it's just the distance is just 1 year. Okay, and for the next one, okay, right. So let's see. Okay, right, just like that. Okay, right.新減舊除舊. That's how you find difference, right, between different years, right? Okay, just like that, and you'll be able to find inflation rates. Okay, so they are the inflation rates, all right, from year to year. Okay, yeah, for 2020 to 2021, the inflation rate is 23.08%, and then when you get to from 2021 to 2022, then you have an inflation rate of 56.24%. Okay, right? So here, what do we call it? From this year to this year, what can we say? There is from 23 to 56%. There is, come on, just give me that word. Wait, Michelle, inflation. I mean, you okay, Michelle? Okay, all right, okay, yeah, right. Because the percentage is even going up, right? When we proceed to 2022, so we see there's a sustainable increase in price level based on the percentage that we have seen right here. All right, so inflation. Okay, so once again, what if I tell you, so yeah, when we go from 2022 to 2023, there is a 40% inflation. So from this one here to 40%, what do we call it? From 56, yeah, this inflation. Okay, right? You see here, it's still inflating. Okay, the price level is still inflating, but in a slower rate. So we call that disinflation. Okay, all right, yeah, cool, just like that. Okay, so that's the CPI that we have learned, okay, from last year. All right, there's nothing changed. Okay, yeah, the same way it is. All right, yep, cool, clear. Any questions? No, no, no. All right, cool, that's good. All right, so can you spend 10 minutes trying to finish this? Yeah. Well, yeah. For the calculation part, it's really for HL only. But since we have to learn CPI in SXL, then yeah, it doesn't really matter. If you know the concept as an SL student, then you will know how to calculate this. So you can see for HL contents for macro, is yeah, I don't know why they put that in XL contents because yeah, for SL students you still have to learn that, and yeah, and then they put the calculation for XL only. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so yeah, it doesn't really matter for SL students, for XL students. Come on, go ahead and do all four questions and see if you really understand the working of CPI. All right. Yeah. So I'll give you 10 minutes. I don't think you need 10 minutes, but yeah, we'll see. Okay. Once you finish all four of them, just give me a heads up. Okay. So I know you finished. Right. And then, yeah, possibly we will go through this faster. Okay. So, yeah, here are the data. Right. Yeah. So, in this country, we have, let's say, free goods in the basket. Okay, so these are the free goods in the basket. So for this country, the people, the typical household, they usually just consume eggs, bread, and wine. Okay, and you see here, look, 2013, that's the base year, and for the base year, okay, they have determined that, right? These are the weights. Okay, yeah, they consume 10 eggs, they consume 2 breads, and also 1 wine. Okay, right? Yeah, so these are the settings that we need to know. Okay, and now you can just calculate it. So you guys finish the calculations? Done? Okay. All right. Good. So now can you tell me the first one? Yeah, just show me the working. Thank you. Yeah, show me the working and also the answer as well. For number one, okay, calculate the total expenditure for purchasing the bundle of goods in each year. Come on, anyone? No. Uh, 50, 65, and 80. Okay, right? Yeah, based on using the same weights, you should be able to find those numbers. Yeah, I haven't calculated, okay, the numbers, but I believe in you guys. All right. So as long as you're using, yeah, all those prices, okay, multiply them by those weights for each year, then you will get the numbers. Okay, so that's number one. So that's easy, right? So from here you can see, okay, different years they have different total expenditure for the same goods in the same basket. Okay, yeah. So you can see the cost of living is changing, right? What about number two? Number two, yeah, the expenditure weight of each good in 2013. Well, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, because you're using the same weight every year. So yeah, talking about weight. So yeah, so what are the weights? Mm, yep. Yeah, Michelle. I was kind of confused, like why you have point 0.4, point 0.2, and point 0.4. Yeah, it should be right. 77%. Yeah, without I think there should be some decimal places. But anyway, yeah, 77% and yeah, 15% for bread and then 7.7% for wine, right? Yeah, when you are trying to find the percentage, okay, the proportion, okay, among the three goods that we consume. Okay, all right, yeah. So 10 over 13, 2 over 13, 1 over 13, that's you can find, okay, their weight. And that's why I told you they are just different expressions. Okay, at the end you can use this, right, for the weights. You can use the percentages that you have found out for the weights. They will give you the same answers. Okay, so that's number two. And so number three, okay, suppose, well, yeah, suppose the quantity of goods consumed is unchanged. Okay, because the weight, okay, we assume the weight should not be changed. Okay, so this is what they're trying to say, right? Calculate the CPI for each year by setting CPI in 2013 as 100. So that means 2013, that's our base year. So can you quickly show me the CPI for each year? The CPI for each year. Right. Okay. So the first year, obviously 100. Yeah. And anyone who has a different answer, because I'm not doing the calculation. Okay. Yeah. But if you see a different answer, yeah, please, okay, tell us. Right. If not, then I'm gonna believe in Ryan's answers. Okay. So 100, 130, and 160. So you can see, okay, CPI is increasing every year. So the cost of living is increasing. So we know there is inflation along the years. Okay. What about the inflation rate? Can you quickly give me the inflation rate as well? Yeah, along the years, 30% and 23%. Okay, and from the percentage, okay, we can see well, if we talk, if we start from 2013, yeah. So we have 30%. So there's, yeah, from 30 to 23, then we have this inflation, right? Okay, so there you have it, just like that. Okay, but you have to ask yourself some question. If you are using CPI, if you are calculating the numbers like this, okay, yeah, what do you think will happen when we are calculating CPI, and if we change the items in the basket for every year, what do you think will happen? So if we change the items inside the baskets every year, yeah, there's no reference value. Okay, and that's why when we are using this calculation, okay, when we are using CPI, the items in the basket, they should be fixed. Okay, otherwise you cannot use it for comparison. Okay, just based on a simple idea, apple to apple. Okay, you cannot compare apple to orange because they are completely different. Okay, all right, yeah, and at the same time, okay, the second question will give you the same idea. So what if we change the weights every year? Yeah, so when we are changing, okay, the weighting for every year, when we are changing the weights for every year, there will be, okay, yeah, you will be losing the reference value as well. Okay, and that is the reason why when we are calculating a CPI, we every year we use the same items in the basket, and also we are using the same combination of weights for the items. Okay, but from here, do you find anything that don't make sense? If we are doing this every year. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about like if we are sticking with this assumption here, if we are sticking with those, well, let's say those two assumptions there, okay, we are going to use the same set of items in the same basket, and we are using the same weights for that basket every year. What will not make sense? Exactly, right? Yeah, that is the problem. Okay, over time, as a consumer, right? Even if you are a typical household, yeah, you are not going to spend your money on the same things every year. Okay, so one day your pattern, your consumption pattern might change, and if that happens, and if you're still using this rule here, then the number will not be reflecting, okay, the true value of inflation. You get it? Yep. And also, right? Different years we might even if we assume, look, we are going to spend on eggs, breads, and wine every year. Okay, period. Right? But look, this one here, the weights here are going to change for sure. For some years, yeah, I might buy more eggs. Yeah, for some years I might buy less eggs. Yeah, because of so many different factors. Because I don't like eggs anymore. Because I want to eat more eggs now. Yeah, yeah, and also maybe the eggs are becoming cheaper. Then I buy more eggs. Yeah, you see, so many factors affecting how we consume. Okay, yeah, the consumption pattern that we have, and now you can see there are some problems we have in CPI. Okay, all right, yeah, and we are going to discuss it in detail, right? Yeah, very soon. Okay, but now based on the assumptions, they have some problems. Okay, all right, yeah. So that's yeah, that's CPI. All right, yeah, that's the concept of CPI, and so let's go to the next one that I really want to talk about. Okay, so do you still remember them? Nominal GDP and real GDP. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you still remember them. And what is the difference? Okay, which one accounts for inflation and which one does not? Okay, yeah, real GDP. Uh huh. Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. Right. Yeah. I think I know what you're trying to say. Okay. For nominal GDP. Okay. Yeah. We just include the inflation inside nominal GDP. Okay. But for real GDP, yeah, we want to find we want to find a more objective a number, and that's why we are going to exclude inflation in it to see a more accurate number, right? Okay, yeah, in terms of GDP. But this is all we know. Okay, but how we actually calculate, you know, those two GDP respectively. So this is what we are going to see right now. Okay, so if you know how to calculate them, then you will have a better understanding on both of the concepts, as well as how you can find inflation, right, from both of the items. Okay, all right, yeah. So here we go. Look, when we talk about GDP, okay, we know how to calculate GDP. All right. So can you very quickly tell me the equation for GDP? The equation for GDP. Come on. Anyone? Equation for GDP, right? Okay. Yeah, there you have it. C plus I plus G plus NX. There you go. That's how we calculate GDP. And let's make another assumption. Okay, we're trying to use some very simple assumption to see something very big. Okay, so here let's assume in the same country, okay, we only produce bananas and shrimps once again. And look, and it's going to be so simple for this country. We don't use any tools. We don't have any government. We use bare hands to catch bananas and shrimps every day. So this is what we do. Okay, so let's assume we are in a very primal country. Okay, yeah, there's nothing but people. They are catching bananas, okay, and shrimps every day. All right, yeah. So they are all the output that they have. Okay, and it's a closed economy. All right, let's put it this way. Okay, right. So you see here. So how do we find nominal GDP? Okay, when we really want to calculate them in details. So take a look at this once again. Yeah, you see, we only have two items. Okay, so you see this one here. We this time we really only have two items in this economy. Okay, there's nothing else because we only have bananas and shrimps as the output. Okay, all right, yeah. So now it's a bit different. Okay, now it's a bit different. Okay, and look at this. The numbers that we use, they are exactly the same as what we have used for CPI. Okay, for 2020, this is the output. Okay, this is the output of the economy, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is the total output. And in 2021, let's assume the output is not changing. Okay, yeah. So you don't see any economic growth at all. The output is the same. Okay, right? But you see here, what's the difference? It's the price. Okay, in 2020, the price for let's say one banana is $3, and for one shrimp is $10. Okay, yeah. So at the end, if we put everything together, so remember the ADAS curve that we have. Okay, yeah, the x-axis when we talk about output is a value. Okay, so yeah, so these are the values. Okay, at the end, that's the total value, right? The output, the total output. Okay, right? And in 2021, okay, yeah, you see the price has changed, right? So now the bananas, okay, it costs $5, and for the shrimps, okay, it cost $11. So if we are using the concept of nominal GDP, so this is how we see things. Because we are not going to exclude inflation. So when we look at the output, or you can say the GDP, okay, right? So you can see GDP, if we look at the value or the output, the total output is from 65 to 80. Okay, but from the table we know that the quantity is the same for both of the years. So from there we know it's all because of why we can see there is an increase in output. It's all because of the price. Okay, even if I don't show you the price here, if I just show you the rest of the numbers, okay, and that country, if you are using nominal GDP, they are not growing. They are not growing at all. Okay, the reason why the output is increasing is just because of pure inflation. Okay, yeah. So this is how you can see, right, from the nominal GDP perspective. Okay, right, when we don't care about inflation. So for nominal GDP, it's not very accurate. Okay, yeah, even when you have a situation like this, okay, yeah, it seems like you are having a better economy the next year. Okay, right? And that's why we prefer using real GDP. And that is why when you're using ADAS curve, the x-axis, we always talk about real GDP. Okay, and that is the true reason why you use that. All right, it's not something suddenly just popped up and you should write real GDP for your x-axis. All right, yeah, it's because of this case here. We cannot use the normal output, right? We have to use the real GDP in order to avoid having this kind of misunderstanding. All right, so let's take a look of how they calculate real GDP using the same case. Okay, we are still assuming that from 2020 to 2021, the quantity that we produced, they are the same. Okay, yeah, but for real GDP, look at the difference. Okay, this is how we calculate real GDP. Okay, once again, if you want to calculate real GDP, you are going to find a base year first. Okay, and from that base year, you are going to use the prices from that base year all along. Okay, so from here, let's say 2020, that's the base year they are using. Okay, and from there, no matter they are going towards 2021 or 2022, 2023, they are going to use the same benchmark as the prices, okay, to show a constant price level. That's how you exclude, okay, that's how you pull that inflation out of the nominal GDP. Okay, so if we do that, so you see here, right? Because the quantities, okay, because now, they are whatever, whatever we use when we're using nominal GDP or real GDP, they should be constant. Okay, because this is the quantity that we really produce for that year. Okay, it's just the price level. Okay, but in real GDP, we assume, okay, for every year, the price level should be constant. Okay, and if we use a constant price level, okay, then we will find a different figure. Okay, so and that's why if we are using a constant price level, see, when we are using this as the base year price level, then for 2021 we are going to use the same set of prices. Okay, and at the end, look at this. For the 2 years, so this time we can call that real output. Okay, for the 2 years, they are the same. So there's no change in your GDP actually. Okay, right? So from there, so we can go back to what we have learned, okay? Yeah, the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP, okay? And that is why, yeah, nominal GDP from here, yeah, sometimes you may see some illusions from this data here, but for real GDP, when you are using a constant price level, okay, then you'll be able to see the real picture of the output in your economy, okay? All right, yeah. So that is how we find it, okay? The difference between nominal GDP and real GDP, okay? And of course, uh, we can use the numbers of nominal GDP and real GDP for calculation of inflation, okay? Yeah, if you still remember, there was a homework asking you to find, you know, the nominal GDP and real GDP in Hong Kong 2016 for 2016, and yeah, and see if you're able to find the inflation. Okay, right? Yeah. Uh, it's very it's very similar to that. And based on the work that you have done, yeah, you might not be able to find that answer like perfectly because different organizations they are using different sets of data for calculating both GDP and also the inflation rate. So there might be some yeah differences. Okay, right? But if we try to use some simple figures, like the, the the things that we have here, okay, the data that I give you here, then we will see something, yeah, exactly the same when we are calculating, inflation. So when we are trying to use nominal GDP and real GDP to find the inflation rate, this is what we can do, okay? Right? Yeah. Once again, even though, look, this method is only for HL students, okay? But once you know it as an SL student, okay, as an SL student, you will understand much more about the concept of nominal GDP and real GDP. So when you are writing for your essay, it will give you more points. All right? Yeah, you have to talk about. All right? Yeah. So you see, it's very simple. So this one here, GDP deflator, it's just a name. Okay, it's just basic mathematics. Okay, right? We try to put a name on it. So this is how we calculate it. We are using the nominal GDP over the real GDP, and then we multiply it by 100. So this is the GDP deflator. Well, you can say it is yeah, it is kind of like an index, yeah. But the concept is quite similar. So by using this formula, we can see how much changes, okay, for the real GDP. Okay, yeah, from the real GDP, right? Okay, yeah, to the nominal GDP. Yeah, because we are using, yeah, the equation right here. All right. So when you take a look at this, so if we, right, yeah, because we are trying to assume for 2020, that's the base year. Okay, that's the base year. All right. Yeah. And if that's the base year, so if we go back, nominal GDP over real GDP, 2020, nominal GDP over real GDP, you see, it's always the same. Okay, right? It's always the same. But once we go past that base year, okay, so for the base year, it's always going to be 100. But once we go past that base year, you will see, right? It's different. Okay, so now for 2021, yeah, we have to use 80 over 65, and yeah, multiplied by 100. So at the end, look, we find this answer 123.08. That is exactly the same as the CPI example that we made. Okay, yeah. Of course, because I have manipulated the data, and that's why they are the same. Okay, in the reality, they are always different. Okay, but right now, if we are using the same set of data, okay, right, for the calculation, we should be able to find the same answer. Okay, right? So from here, you can see, right, from 2020 to 2021, okay, there is a 23.08%, okay, of, increase. All right, yeah, okay, yeah, just based on the price level. Okay, all right, yeah, because based on the price level, that's why you see the difference. Okay, all right, yeah, and at the end, so this is how you can find it. Okay, and if you're using the same approach, yeah, after that, so you see here, if now you're trying to find the percentage change in this GDP deflator, okay, from 2020 to 2021, you just have to use the same method, right? Yeah, using a new one minus the old one, and then over the old one, and yeah, times 100, then you will find 23%. That is, okay, the percentage change from this GDP deflator, okay, from 2020 to 2021. So that is the inflation rate, okay, all right, for that year. So it's the same, okay, all right, yeah, based on the data that we have, you will find the same number, okay, yeah. So yeah, right. So based on theory, if we are using both CPI and GDP deflator, we can find the same result. Okay, all right, yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, I kind of overrun it. But yeah, so you can tell. See, using different approaches, you can find the same number. Okay, all right. But in the reality, it's not the same. Okay, yeah, and we will talk about it next week. Okay, we'll talk about it next week. I have uploaded this PowerPoint on Google Classroom. So if you want to go through it once again, go to Google Classroom. Okay, yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, feel free to ask. Okay, all right, yeah, right, yeah, I think I have already given you the homework. So yeah, so that's good. All right, that's all for today. Okay.